Welcome to the Corporate Hangover. I'm your host, Tiffany Kennedy. And this evening, I'm really excited. We are speaking with Mr. Jon Powell. He's a father of three, and after many years in the tech industry, he left to pursue his own passion of what I'll call selfless service. He's going to tell us a little bit more about that. I know he's going to have some really interesting stories to share, but stay tuned for that. In addition to that, he is also one of the hosts of the Time Pals podcast. And from what I've listened to so far, I think we're going to be in for a great conversation, and I'm going to let him speak to that as well. I don't want to steal any of your thunder. I want to tee it up for some great conversations there, Jon, that we can really get into. And if time permits, I'm personally invested in this story. I would love to hear about your attempts to relearn how to rollerblade. So, Jon, without further ado, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And the rollerblade is probably not as exciting of a story as we might think, but it's fun and it makes me happy.
Happiness is good on any day of the week, so I'm going to go right there with you. But I think it's going to be something that we really need to hear. Jon, why don't you tell us a little about yourself? I'd love to hear a bit about your background.
At this point, my primary responsibility is the three kids. I am a hardcore girl dad. All three of them been wrapped around their fingers for decades. My oldest just graduated college.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
So a little different type of responsibilities and a whole different well of concerns there. But aside from parenting pretty hardcore for the last 25 years, I spent roughly the last 11, 12 years in tech or software industry. It started off where I was working to get into the food industry. I went to culinary school. I wound up a butcher. And then I was like, oh, wow, I can't afford to live in the Bay Area doing this. So I need to stuff down the stuff I want. So I bounced from a call center and then got picked up for an actual support job for a medical software company. So that was kind of my first real foray into the tech world. The health management software where you would log in, make your appointments, see your test results, all of that stuff. We were one of those, owned by McKesson. A lot of people probably know McKesson's like one of the biggest drug companies and a bajillion other things. Like every big organ, they got their fingers everywhere. That was also my first experience with layoffs too. So I did that for about 2.5 years. And then the company got sold twice in that time. Whenever a company gets sold, the new owners always have opinions of what to do with the existing people. And so on the second sale, my whole team was, in lieu of having account management and support come out of, I think it was Alabama, because they did not have to pay Bay Area wages for a support center in Alabama.
Yeah, that's a common story you hear all the time.
I understand it to a degree. Why pay five people $30 an hour when you can pay 15 people $10 an hour? And I understand why, but I also know that you get what you pay for.
That's exactly it. And I know that you have some strong opinions about the tech world in particular. What was the key or pivotal moment that you said, you know what, I just need to maybe exit and go and think about doing something else?
For me, that was my first job in the software tech industry. I spent the next 8 to 10 years there. And then I was laid off from a company in December of 2023. The big aha moment for me there was so many other people had been laid off. That was like that mass layoffs period across the tech industry. What was it, like 900,000 people across something? So going to apply for a job a year earlier, when I would see 30 or 40 applicants for a job, was now 900 applicants. And I'd see a lot of people in there because I said, okay, well, I really want to get the edge up. I'll pay for LinkedIn Premium so I can see the people I'm up against. I mean, former executives, people with MBAs, things like that. And I'm like, oh, I didn't go to college. I just a guy who's been doing this for a decade. I kind of felt a little bit helpless, but also I kind of sat there. I thought about it. I was out of work for a year, got to spend a lot of time with the kids, which was awesome. Drained pretty much all my savings in the process. And then towards the end of it, I was thinking about one of the things that I love the most which was my second job for a chunk of that time while I was in the tech industry. And that was managing a local homeless shelter here in the East Bay area. So a couple towns south of Oakland, California. And that ended up actually being kind of my happy place. I was totally fine with the fact that I was doing 16 to 20-hour days doing two jobs because the second half of my day was there. So then I thought to myself, well, I don't want to do this corporate BS anymore. I don't want to deal with all of that. I don't want to deal with almost like the facelessness of it, just being a cog in the overall machine where you don't matter. And I had left the shelter just due to disagreements with the directors of the shelter. I knew that going back there wasn't necessarily an option. And then a friend of mine of 20, 25 years reminded me, he's like, hey, I've been working for the school district. Why don't you apply here? We have a lot of open positions right now. It'd be great. And it would be something that, while it isn't directly nonprofit working with the unhoused or some other group that could really need it, it's still working for the community. That's really ticked something in my mind. And when I went into my interviews, when I went into everything for that job, that's what I really led with. Because for once, I wasn't trying to bullshit my way. Sorry, BS my way. I don't know how you feel about cursing on the podcast.
You're perfectly okay. It's real life, right? Real life happens.
Yeah, I felt like I didn't have to do that on an interview and just say what they needed so I could get a job so that I could afford to live here. I think one of the last things I told him was like, I'm so sick and tired of the corporate grind and all of the stuff that comes with it. I want to do something that could impact the community. And I do purchasing for them. So not really an accountant, not really a budget analyst, but I'm there reviewing everybody's purchases. I'm making sure we're not getting screwed on price on things. I'm making sure all of our insurance is there. The contracts are properly signed. And it's definitely the more bureaucratic side of that, but it allows me to go in and really make sure that the kids in this city are being taken care of because most cities in California have a huge chunk of their funds distributed towards lower income families, families of color, special education, and people that really need more than just we get X amount of dollars per kid spread amongst the district. Something I actually rely upon in my own district for my kids are some of the low income programs and the programs for children because my kids are mixed race. So for programs for people who are, English second language or might not have access to their culture living here. So I see that stuff come up and to be able to ensure that those contracts get done, that we get those guest speakers, those assemblies, those resources brought into the school makes me really, really happy.
That is amazing. You hit on something earlier when you were just kind of talking about your career in tech and then your transition to working with the unhoused. And I thought it was very interesting because you said that was your happy place. And you wouldn't anticipate that someone would say that with the amount of despair that you might see, or sometimes people just may be at the lowest point in your life. What was the difference between your work in a corporate job versus working in that setting that made it so that it could be your happy place? I'm really interested in hearing that.
To boil it down to a very quick sentence, soulless versus soulful. These are people who could be at their lowest, people who are making the best of a bad situation, who are trying their best to just live and have a quiet place, find their next meal. And there's absolutely times where I had to deal with people who were under the influence, where I had to call medical out, where in order to unfortunately stop something violent from happening, I had to call the police out to arrest them or trespass them from our property, things I did not want to do. But I was there. I managed the whole shelter and I needed to make sure that everybody there was safe, cared for, fed, and had a warm place to sleep. And coming in there and seeing the smiles from everybody, even the people that acted like they wanted to just beat the shit out of me, for lack of a better term, they would just give me the side eye or something, being able to talk to them for a second and get a thank you from them or finally get somebody to open up. It was all really rewarding. And It got to the point where I'd get there a couple hours early sometimes to go talk with people. I'd stay a little bit late. Even on my kids were sleeping over at my parents' house, I would just go in for a volunteer night and help out just so I could be there. And it's one of those things where it was very therapeutic for me to take my energy and put that towards something that's meaningful to other people. One of the other reasons that I did stop was because I realized, I was missing out on a lot of time with my kids as well too, because my long days were 3 or 4 18-hour days a week on average, and then one 14-hour day. There was a big chunk of the week I didn't even see my kids at all because I'd go to sleep after they were asleep and wake up before they woke up. I'd made great friends there. I had great employees under me. It was very humbling to work with a bunch of people who were of a significantly younger generation, because I think everybody on my team was between 18 and 22, and I'm 40. So this was,
You're like the relic coming in there.
oh yeah, and they absolutely let me know that. Absolutely. I got all sorts of shit from them. My favorite that I still remember today is they were showing me Snapchat, and one of them asked me if them teaching me Snapchat was like to teach my grandfather email. And I was like, oh, so you're looking to get fired is what's up.
Listen, I was already impressed. I'm like, you know how to use Snapchat? Wow.
I don't see the point of it, frankly. It makes no sense to text people something that disappears in 24 hours. I already have enough time remembering stuff after 24 hours. I don't need my phone to gaslight me.
Listen, let me tell you, I'm at the point where it's just like I have my set apps that I know how to use, and that's all I want to stick with. Please don't introduce anything else new to me. I'm not willing to learn it.
100%. I never thought I'd be that person. I always thought I was like open to all the new technology, and I'm like, nope, I don't care anymore. There's too much of it now.
Here we are. I'm just like, how do I post my picture? That's all I want to do.
I want to post my picture, and I want somebody to not be able to download it and Photoshop it into something embarrassing. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Get these filters out of here. I don't know. I just want to post my picture, damn it. That's hilarious. So I'm kind of curious going into this new role because when you think about corporate America, we have what success is supposed to look like, quote unquote, and you have all these metrics and your KPI. And if you're not at this point at this year of your career, you're not successful. But going to work with the unhoused, how did that shape your perspective on what success looked like? Did it have an impact?
Oh, absolutely. Because it made me realize that success isn't tied to KPIs. From the time of sale to the time to getting a customer stood up and actively using the product. While there was an aspect of us tracking how many people we helped and what was done with them, we had to do that because we had to apply to the county for funding. So we had to show them, oh, okay, in this month we had our shelter was full every single night. So of the 50 people there, we gave out an additional 25 or 30 meals to people who weren't staying there. We had many people go to social services during the daytime and utilize our social service people to help find housing and work and things like that. We had to track everybody. We had to check everybody and all of that because every month we did have to upload all of those statistics to the county to continue getting funding and ask for more funding later on. So at first, I understand why, but I think I was a little bit still in my head. I hate having to do this, but we found a way to do it that didn't just dehumanize everybody into a statistic. We tracked people, we had information on them, and it just allowed us to make our process of letting people in a lot easier too, because then you get repeat faces coming in. That way, people aren't on a rainy day standing out in the cold. Okay, what's your name? Who have you been here before? Take a little card with a barcode on it. You hold it up. It's got your name. Boom. We scan you in. Go ahead. It worked and it made things better, in my opinion. There was no pressure. There wasn't like, oh, we have to help this. We didn't have to go get people. The only scheduling things we had were like, okay, we got to feed people by this time. We got to do beds and cots out by this time. And we got to do lights out at this time, which are, minor when you compare to having some 30 something who has no understanding of work life balance jumping down your throat going like, oh, we have to hit this. Management is bringing. I'm like, I don't care. This is all worthless, meaningless crap.
When you get to a certain point, you just hit the nail on the head. You're willing to do so many things when you feel connected to the work that you do. And I noted when you were just talking about your work at the shelter and mentioning working 18-hour days, How many hours did you work in your tech role on average versus at the shelter?
When I started, I was putting in 50 plus hours because that's the way a 40-hour job is no longer the thing. Somebody younger who wants to get the promotion and be an exec at 28 years old and retire at 40 or whatever, who's going to ditch any sense of work-life balance and pass you by. And then one day I was like, I'm salary. I don't get any more money for this. At the first company I worked at, that healthcare software company, I was hourly at first. It was from working at a butcher shop to that, rather from the call center to that, a hell of an increase in wage. And then we got the contract for the US military. So we got to have people with a cell phone 24 hours a day. You do that, you get 8 hours of OT for being on call all week. I'm like, hell yeah, that's me. Oh, we've got all these extra tickets. Does anybody want to stay late today? I'm like, yep, that's me too. When I was hourly and getting overtime for that, that was great. And it turned out that I was pushing like 80 hours a week and effectively doubling my hourly wage with all of the overtime to where they're like, oh, hey, yeah, so we don't want you to do that anymore. What we're going to do is we're going to make you salary now. And they gave me less salary than I was making. So I was like, sign that contract. Cool. I'm salary now. I will no longer be doing more than 40 hours a week. Thank you. They all try and play the games and they all try and entice you with things like, oh, yeah, but it's salary. It's guaranteed now.
I bet you that was a shock when you kind of laid that on the table.
It worked out very well because then doing that, I was able to take on a couple other roles and gain a promotion from that because I freed myself up from doing all of that overtime. To be honest, that's the first step that allowed me to be successful for 8, 10-ish, whatever. If I hadn't deleted LinkedIn, I'd be able to go look and figure out exactly how long I did this for. But as soon as I had the opportunity, I was like, I don't need that shit anymore. I'm done with LinkedIn. It is ridiculous.
You mean you don't want to hear about all those inspirational anecdotes and all the stories that never probably ever even happened? Doesn't sound good to you?
I do not need to see 100,000 people who all got high with their friends and thought they had a great app idea, jerk each other off and talk about how good each other are. Just because you had an idea when you were high does not mean it's a good idea. One time I thought I should put grapes on pizza. That was a stupid idea.
Hey, you're talking to a native New Yorker now. I'm like, oh man, we might have to stop this conversation right now.
I will not say what my favorite pizza is then because I will piss off the native New Yorkers and the Italians in my life.
Oh man.
It's real bad. I'm proud. Pepperoni and pineapple all day.
Oh wow. I knew I was anticipating some kind of pineapple.
Forget about the ham and pineapple. There's no flavor to it. It's just salt. You need pepperoni and pineapple.
Oh, take the wheel. Tell me about the Time Pals podcast. I think that's a good place to pivot right there.
So the time pause is basically, it's one of those things where one of the other guys on the podcast, Mike, he had this with his friend and they were doing it for a little while. And it was one of those schedule never lined up things. So then this year he said, hey, we tried doing this a couple times and it didn't work. I was thinking this summer we could toss out 3 or 4 episodes. So he invited me and 2 of our other friends, and we're like, let's do this. Let's just have fun. None of us want to do your other. I don't have the money for a sports car. I don't want to start brewing beer. And frankly, I'm not a big sports guy to where I want to plaster my house in jerseys and stuff. The other midlife crisis is starting a podcast now, apparently. So we did that. And it's really fun to be creative. A lot of it is just making fun of, I guess, the nerdy, that's how we coin it, the nerdy things that we like, the pop culture stuff that we like, and also being parents. But it's really fun to sit down and think of a theme for an episode, write out the direction we want to take it. We did one where we argued if Die Hard was a proper Christmas movie, which lots of people consider Die Hard to be a Christmas movie. And so we thought it'd be fun to actually have a full on debate. And the problem with that is one of us had never seen Die Hard. So by default, he just decided to do some cursory research and argue that it was not a Christmas movie. One of the other guys also was on the fence. One guy believed it was a Christmas movie. And so then to even things out, I don't think it's a Christmas movie. I had to switch sides. So I got to make up a character. I threw on this foghorn leghorn genteel Southern lawyer voice. And I proceeded to just go full court case argument for why Die Hard was a Christmas movie. And it was probably one of the most fun things I've done with grown up friends in the last decade. It's been something that, as much stress as there is to have a release schedule, because we joined a podcast network and they're like, oh, we want you to release on Fridays, and putting together notes and making sure we're not dropping the ball for the other guys. Like when we see it come together, it's really fun and it's something I can be proud of and I get to share it with people. And like, that's the goal. We know the only people that are making money from podcasts are people that are already celebrities.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it's just a fun creative outlet and a way to hang out with people. We're all scattered across the Bay Area. So it's just a great way to be able to connect with those people that I care about and just goof off.
I love it. You mentioned something, the release schedule and working with the network. Did any of those expectations throw you back into the mindset of being in your old career? Or did you have any challenges adjusting back to that kind of expectation as you were getting started?
No, because they were really cool about it. They basically came in and they were like, hey, we reached out to them because one thing we do agree on is that if we want to make a show that people enjoy and it makes people happy, it has to get in front of them and they have to listen to it. So we reached out to this small podcast network that we saw. They only had 400 followers on Instagram or something at the time. We're like, oh, that's our speed. Another independent group of people. And they're like, yeah, we've got these other shows. This one usually releases on Monday. This one does Tuesday. So if you want to, you can release on Friday or Saturday. We're like, okay, we'll do Friday. We record every other week. So it's not like every week we have to hammer something out, so that we had some structure to it. We knew that, okay, if we've got a release on this next Friday, we have to record the previous Sunday, and then we have the week to edit it up and release it. So just not having all of that up in the air actually really helped. For once, I was kind of happy to be beholden to a schedule.
And so that also takes me to my next point. How do you now balance the demands of the podcast, your job, and also being a parent? How do you find balance?
For lack of a, I make it work. My kids are very understanding about it. We record on either Wednesday or Thursday at 6 or 7 p.m. Get the kids home, help with homework, give them dinner. Okay, cool. You guys are old enough to be left up to your own devices for now. If you want to go call your friends or play on your iPad or whatever, go to your room and do that. If you need something, come get me. We're not shy about having them be in the background or anything like that and being heard on there. And if for some odd reason they just turns into like a full on brawl behind me, we can pause the recording. We can edit the screeching out. It is what it is.
It doesn't sound like it's WWF levels of brawl where somebody threw a chair or anything of that nature. It's just, like you said, life happens.
Unfortunately, the only things that have been thrown so far are stuffed animals. I do worry that one time somebody's going to like catch a water bottle to the side of the head just because the other one really wasn't paying attention to what they were grabbing.
So, quick question for you, John. Thinking about the work that you do now supporting the school district and even just kind of going back to your fulfillment at the homeless shelter, is there ever a point in which you wish you had left tech sooner? What would that point have been if you just take a look back at that?
First off, I look back at tech and aside from the high salary, there, I can honestly not think of any sort of really redeeming aspect of it. I think the growth of tech did spur more industries to be allow for remote work and working from home. A lot of people realize, oh, I don't actually have to go into the office to do this. I can hire people from other states, other countries. I know during the pandemic, several of my friends who worked with me in the Bay Area working remotely, I'm going to go move back down to Southern California or wherever they decide to move. Then they get California wage and they're paying cheaper cost of living or just closer to family. And that worked out. That's the one thing I will credit the tech industry with. And then unfortunately, the real ramp up to that working from home was pandemic related. But I'm not like, ooh, I got stock options. Ooh, I got unlimited PTO, which don't get me started on that scam. My friend that worked for the district has been there for 17 years at this point. I easily could have found something in the district a decade ago and had him help me try and get my foot in the door there, and generally have been further along in that career because it's a city, county, state, whatever job. And so I get a pension. That's something that's all but disappeared from the country. I've got a union to back me. I also see some of the people that the union is backing. I'm like, do we have to back that person?
Those people are always going to be around.
If you're going to protect me, then yeah, okay, you can protect everybody. But that person pisses me off.
Absolutely. And they know they can get away with it too. I've seen those types of people when I worked for the VA. This was many lifetimes ago. But it's just, what am I working my tail off for and making sure I'm on the straight and narrow? And oh, Joe Schmo is over here sleeping in the broom closet, using every known rule possible to get out of work.
And then you call them in it, they CC their boss on an email, or my favorite is the person who's been, I speak back one thing, all of a sudden I see the superintendent's name in there. I'm like, don't go bothering her. She's not going to come help you. She's going to get pissed because you brought her into some stupid conversation that I got a paper trail on showing how wrong you are.
Have all of your facts before you CC anyone.
No, that's why I don't answer the phone. I screen calls and I'll just tell people email me because I want to cover my ass.
And it's wild that that's what we have to come down to now, but you get the good and you get the bad. And you really just don't know until you actually start working with someone and just got to sit back and observe sometimes. And then that'll let you know how you need to move going forward. What do you think about the whole RTO now that they're calling everyone back into the office? Pandemic's in the rear view mirror, and all of a sudden we can't do our jobs at home anymore.
I think it's just the way for those people that have need to be on top of people and feel the need to micromanage everybody to do it. I have to go to the office every day. Part of the reason for that is because we still print things out and scan them and print out physical checks for things. I could probably work it out to where it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the office and then Tuesday, Thursday not, but it's fine. It's not a bad commute. But I think the people that are making a case like, oh no, we need people to come back. No, you don't. That didn't need to be a meeting. It could have been an email. You don't need people in the office. Mm-mm. They just don't like the lack of control. It's the same people that put the mouse trackers on the company laptops that they send out. And that's why you got to just put a fan next to you with a string on it so it pulls your mouse back and forth.
Don't give away all the secrets, John.
I'd be happy to teach people how to scam all those things so that their bosses can't watch them. It's absolutely ridiculous. Especially my partner's a great example. She's been remote for since a little bit before the pandemic. And there's absolutely no reason for her to have to go to the office. There's nothing that she has access to there that she cannot do at her home office. There's no parking there because it's for the neighboring hospital. They've been told they cannot park there. So there's the idea of moving in together. I've got kids, so you'll have to move my direction, which is a 1 hour commute with the flow of traffic to your job. So now that becomes probably like 90 minutes, when that 90 minutes could be used to sleep in, start early, leave early, whatever the hell you want it to be. They would really need to show me some amazing statistical proof that people are dropping the ball. If you show me that people are just screwing up left and right because they don't have a manager there, they like to maintain that corporate hold on their employees.
Yeah, I will say if your business collapses because of where your people work, you probably don't have a good operating model, probably don't have a sound business, right? And I just always thought that by the time I got to 40, I wouldn't need adult daycare, but apparently many of us do. And so it's good to know. I didn't know this would be the case at this age, but the best part is those people that drive in just to sit on a Zoom meeting all day because their teams may not even be in the same region. It's just kind of helped me understand how that comes together. What's the case there?
That's an amazing thing to me. I have had less meetings in 14 months, I want to say, at this position than I had in 1 week at any tech industry job. I would look at my calendar and it's just completely covered in meetings. So when am I supposed to do my job of actually doing the work for the customer? And you want me to go into this new app and track all of my time in 15-minute increments?
Are you serious?
That was one of the last companies. They wanted us to do it in 15-minute increments. And I'm like, cool. So you realize now it's going to take me an hour to do that every day. So now that's 7 hours worth of work in a day where I got 6 hours of meetings. The math isn't mathing.
It's so interesting when someone puts these requirements out there because now that's more time that I'm spending bookkeeping essentially rather than doing the job I was hired to do. At what point do you trust the people that you hire to do the job that they do and just deliver the result? Because I could then easily argue I am so inundated with the meetings and the meetings after the meetings, and then now this other bullshit that where does it end?
I know one time we all tried to do, let's set our Zoom meetings to just be 50 minutes. And then we have 10 minutes to at least go grab a drink of water or exchange notes or send a follow up email. And then after about a week, some customer spoke up, one of the ones that's real anal retentive about their contract, and like, well, our contract says we get X amount of 1 hour meetings each week. So then I'm like, you asshole.
Are you serious?
I sit with headphones on at work 6 hours a day. My boss is in his office with his headphones on. Half the time, I don't even get up to go 10 feet to talk to him. I'll just send him an instant message and be like, hey, I think this broke, or I can't do XYZ. Can you try it? Yep, done. And he knows I'm going to do my job. I know if I ask him a question or need him to step in and do something with his cool manager powers, he'll do that for me. And then that's that. I always like, oh, you got to have a manager who's going to get in there. No, you got to have a manager who's going to trust you. For me, if I'm out sick, him being able to step up is good. But me just saying, like, hey, my kid is sick. I'm going to work from home. Sorry that this has happened like 4 times in the last 3 weeks. And him trusting me to deal with that, get my work done, and not give me crap about it, that means the world to me.
I'm with you. You mentioned having a daughter who is going to be graduating college and going to be going out into the workforce, I imagine. What advice would you give her looking back on your career?
There is a time to focus on making money. And the main reason for that is because we do live in a ridiculously expensive area. There's a time where you want go out, make money, create a safety net for yourself, have a roof over your head, be able to put food on the table for yourself. If it somehow lines up that is in the industry you got your degree in, then fantastic. That is amazing. And you are so lucky to do that. But setting yourself up with a solid base and then trying to work from there, that's something I wish I had done in the past, as opposed to just hopping at whatever job would give me a higher paycheck because I was young and wanted to do fun stuff, but then also I became a parent pretty quickly. So enjoy yourself though. She knows she's got a room so she can come back there if she wants to. That's one of the things that she knows. If she wants to actually live there full time and find a job locally instead of the town where she went to college, which is only 45 minutes away, so it's not like she's across the country, she can do that too. But just don't sit there and insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If you're sitting there and you're stressed about money, you're stressed about where to live, you're stressed about all of the other aspects of your life, and you're just continuing to just go, 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 trying to get into this one career that goes with your degree, step back, try something different. Maybe that puts you at a better vantage point, and then you can try that again and be more successful.
I love that. John, for the people that might be interested in Time Pals, where can they find you?
The easiest place to do it would be if you just search Time Pals podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all that stuff. We're on Instagram. We're on Blue Sky. We're on YouTube. It's all the same. It's always going to be Time Pals podcast. We are not on TikTok or X.
Here's the most important thing. Are you on Snapchat?
No. Anything that the youth likes, I just by default, my grouchy old manness, I just don't like it anymore. I'm done.
You know I had to come back to it.
It just doesn't make sense. I just don't get why.
Cool.
Oh my God.
I love it. I love it. You almost got out of here without that rollerblading story.
So when I was a kid, my mom's second marriage, we had two stepbrothers, super hardcore into hockey. I grew up with them playing a ton of roller hockey in the court that we lived in. We had full goalie pads, the mat, like everything. Only one of them played semi-professionally. And idolizing the X Games type of stuff, wanting to do tricks with it. Nothing crazy. I had dreams of doing tricks when I was just happy to jump off the curb onto the road and not die. But I loved it. I would skate everywhere. I'd skate all around the neighborhood. I'd go to friends' houses and we'd just skate through the city together to the park and this and that. And then it just kind of fell off. I was digging through storage one day and I found a pair of my uncle's rollerblades. And he had passed a good while ago, but I had a bunch of his stuff. And I'm like, oh man, that would be a lot of fun. And then my middle daughter, I took her ice skating one day and she was like, this is so much fun. Can we keep going ice skating? I was like, no, because that's a winter thing. But we could go roller skating. So I got her a pair of roller skates, bought myself a pair of rollerblades, I don't know, like 6 months prior. But then finally, I had reason to because I want to teach her. And then I realized after I taught her, I don't think I actually remember how. And so I've run into 4 or 5 people's cars in the apartment parking lot already. The alarms didn't go off. I'm not a small person, so I'm happy I didn't leave dents.
That or have to try to test your insurance at that point. A third one, that's a concern.
I'm more concerned. I'm like, okay, if I bump the car, that'll be fine. I'm more worried about falling and breaking something at this age than having it die. I dislocated my shoulder picking up a turkey at Costco around the holidays. Like, like I cannot fall while rollerblading. It's not going to be good.
Oh, John.
I got to hedge my bet. So it's between the car or my body. The car's taking the hit.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I chuckled a little bit, and it's just because the whole turkey situation immediately Bob's Burgers popped into my mind, where it's like him every Thanksgiving. I was trying to hold it together, John.
I've had a lot of stupid injuries. I watched a lot of Jackass as a kid. I go to people like, oh, you dislocated your shoulder. What were you doing? Trying to lift a turkey during Thanksgiving at Costco. And I'm like, what?
Well, I'm glad you came out on the other side of it, my friend. I'm really glad.
Me too.
I got 2 stories for the price of 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness, John. Well, let me tell you something. That's a way to go out. That is a way to end a conversation. It has really been a pleasure. And I love being able to hear your story. And I knew hearing your journey from tech to then pivoting into really the service of others, because that's how I see the work that you did at the shelter. And then even when you think about the work that you do in the school system, it really does speak to what life can look like when you decide to pursue what makes you feel fulfilled. And I hope that that's something that all of us can achieve. And it's really been my pleasure to hear your journey today.
It was so nice to talk to you and have an opportunity to talk about it. I know that I personally have probably drunkenly lamented about it many times in my life, but to actually put perspective to it and to think deeply about it, it was really nice and helped me reconnect a bit with some of the more meaningful parts of it for myself.
That's awesome, John. Thank you for joining the show. I look forward to maybe catching up with and hearing maybe some more rollerblade stories if that's going to be okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, keep me posted on any new apps that you learn. Maybe you can be my mentor, my guide here.
Maybe this is a 2 brains instead of 1 situation. Maybe we can figure this out together.
Yeah, 2 brains, 2 sets of glasses. How could we not be successful at that point, right?
It's nothing but up from here. It's all upside, Tiffany.
Thank you. Thank you for that, John. Well, have a great evening, and thank you so much for being a guest on the show. It's really been a pleasure.
You have a great evening too. And again, thank you so much for having me. This was an absolute blast, and I look forward to staying in contact.